we're not giving room to explore the idea of letting go of alcohol simply because it does not mesh with aging, right? Simply because our bodies are changing and we don't tolerate alcohol the same way anymore. It doesn't have to be, I'm blackout drunk, I'm hitting a rock bottom. Changing a relationship with alcohol can just be because it doesn't serve you anymore. Mm-hmm. And there's no room to explore that within the reality of these folks getting older.
Well, and their faces have evolved, right? They all have different faces. So I no shade. Get whatever work done you want to get done to make yourself feel good about yourself. I'm all for it. But like, if you could evolve that, you know, their outfits have evolved, their handbags collections have evolved. So like, arguably, I would hope their insides are evolving too. Yeah. Welcome to the Sober Curator podcast, where sobriety isn't just a lifestyle choice, it's the ultimate life hack. I'm Alysse Bryson, your fearless guide to a world where hangovers are canceled, fun is mandatory, and we still know how to shut down a dance floor, just with better shoes.
And I'm Tamar Routley, aka T-Bouge, your co-pilot, chaos coordinator, and the one who keeps Alysse from turning this podcast into a full-blown reality show. Buckle up, sober party people.
From lifestyle and travel to pop culture and zero-proof cocktails, we're serving up the stories, trends, and guests that prove sobriety isn't just about what you're missing. It's about finally remembering where you left your keys. Let's get the party started. Welcome to this special emergency broadcast of the Sober Curator podcast. When Bravo throws shade at sobriety, you better believe we're showing up with our Diet Cokes, charcuterie boards, and opinions hotter than a housewife reunion. That's right. We're talking pop culture, sobriety, and why getting sober should never be considered a bummer on reality TV. And I can't have this conversation without my ride or die, in it to win it, always in for every episode of the Housewives crew. So in no particular order, I would like to introduce you to Alexandra Nyman, the pop culture whisperer and the queen of calling out all bad behavior with style, and the queen of the Giphy art that you see in the Sober Sip. Alex, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you. And next we have Megan Swan, the wellness wizard, who basically what would happen if mindfulness was a reality show. Welcome to the show, Megan.
Thank you.
And Anne Marie is the author of that viral open letter to Andy Cohen, Hello, Mic Drop. I've read it 3 times. Hopefully you have too. We will include a link in the show notes. Welcome, Anne Marie.
Happy to be here.
And last but not least, rounding out this posse is my ride or die. We ride at dawn, even if she doesn't know where we're going. Amy Liz Harrison, she's a writer, she's a speaker, she's living proof that you can survive reality, both on and off TV, because she has 8 kids. That's a reality TV show for sure. Okay, between the 4 of these gals and myself, we think we have more wisdom and sass than an entire Watch What Happens live panel. That's right. So today we are talking about sobriety versus reality TV. And what kicked this off is not just some of the shows that have just ended. Yes, we're going to talk about those, but there was an article that was going around the interwebs about how the producers on Bravo, they really don't like it when one of the characters on the show gets sober. And so that's really what we're here to talk about today. So grab your mocktail, clutch your pearls, because this one is going to be a doozy. Anne Marie, I'm going to kick it off with you because you wrote the letter to Andy. So I think of the 5 of us, you might be the most fired up. And I'm pretty fired up.
Yeah, I'm a little fired up too. I got to say, when I read the article that came out quoting the former Bravo producer, sharing that info that it's the Bravo producers don't like it, aren't behind it when a cast member gets sober, I hit the group chat pretty hard with my diehard Bravo sober friends. Like, a lot of sober folks that I know found reality TV in sobriety, that need to unwind in the evening by not thinking about anything, right? Not having to, like, you don't have to solve the crime or anything like that. Just the friendliness and the audacity of reality TV. So I have a lot of sober friends who watch. We hit the group chat pretty hard. Everybody was a little up in arms about that bluntness of the statement. And I wrote the letter to Andy Cohen not as like a rage against Bravo, but more as like a love letter of what I believe Bravo is capable of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, you did not. Your letter was like, listen, we love you. We want to keep watching. We want to watch. Like, we're all in, but like, we're evolving. Can you please evolve too? I mean, that was what I walked away with after reading your letter.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This is where, you know, the reality of life and sobriety and recovery is that we live it out in the messiness of evolution and transformation all the time. And that is a really, really juicy place to get curious and discover. I think it would make for excellent reality TV.
Alex and Eve, I know you have thoughts on this.
Yes, Eve actually has a lot of thoughts, so I will be acting as an interpreter and a translator for her. You may hear some subtle purrs, but she's just kind of feels as if she is hunting right now. So that's what that is. For me, as somebody who has worked on the other side of the camera, I totally understand why the producer said what they said, because from their perspective, in the purview of doing their job and drumming up drama and creating these storylines, it just comes down to making it easier to force feed lines, to, I mean, this isn't going to sound nice, but like to manipulate the cast members to do what you want. And at this point, like, these are some powerful divas. They've been doing this for how many seasons now? Some of them just might not want to do it. And for one reason or another, it could just be easier to be like, well, I mean, I know you don't want to be in the same room as like so-and-so, but like, it's okay. We'll like drink a margarita and get over it. And I'll be like totally fine. It just, for all intents and purposes, it makes their job harder. But what really disappoints me is that the industry is like so set in the mentality of like the early 2000s reality show and isn't really seeing this in how it could be. Like, my favorite reality TV show is Terrace House, which is on Netflix. And it is about 3 boys, 3 girls in a different city in Japan, and they're all working towards their goals and towards their dreams, supporting one another. And the producers don't have to do anything. Like, the drama just happens. It's like a slow burn, but like you put people in a house who don't know each other, it's just going to happen. You put housewives together in one location, I don't even think you really need alcohol. If they got beef, that beef is just going to naturally come up. Like, the 5 of us could like start having beef out of nowhere, and we're all sober over something like ridiculous and petty because like maybe you're offended that there's a cat on my lap. Like, do better. Like, I just, it's so disappointing to like see colleagues of mine in the industry still have this mentality so many years later, especially when it comes to protesting for the unions, when it comes to standing up for different types of social issues and for our rights and our protections. We're like here for it and we're doing it. But when it comes to the other side of the lens and the talent and respecting their boundaries, that becomes so blurred and so murky.
Well, and I'll say, and Amy, you can nod along with me on this, but anyone that has been a part of 12-step culture, who has had a home group and gone to a business meeting, oh yeah, sober people can have lots and lots and lots of drama over the Splenda or the styrofoam cup or the coffee brand. I mean, there's all kinds of drama to be had without drinking for sure. And while you were talking, Alex, the show that was coming up for me was, has anybody seen, now this is not a reality show, but it's it's called Unreal, and it's based on as if it was The Bachelor or The Bachelorette show. There's 2 or 3 seasons of it. It's a little bit older, but it actually like shows you what the production and what goes on behind the cameras of a show like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. And so you see what Alex was talking about as far as like lived experience with how manipulation is happening through all the different producers with each other, with the different players involved. Yeah, so interesting. Amy, what about you? What are your thoughts on this?
So the first thing that came to mind, and first of all, I want to say, Anne Marie, that was a killer letter. I loved that you wrote that, and mad props to you. Just fantastic. But I feel like the whole overlying concept of this whole thing, or the umbrella concept, if you will, is a failure to adapt to 2025. And the fact that it's, you know, now we see the NA beers and we see the mocktails and the liquor industry being sort of placed in this position of, you know, what are we going to do about this? Are we going to, you know, encourage people to keep drinking and leading toxic lives? Or are we going to adapt and actually make some of these beverages that, you know, Gen Z is now requesting, and with all the, you know, alcoholic deaths, not just by drunk driving, but also the cardiovascular implications, all these different things that are happening. It reminds me of the movie The Insider, you know, the whole tobacco industry, or when there was the big deal about wearing seatbelts in cars and people were like, no, not that. And I think that, yeah, let me ride in the third seat of the station wagon with no seatbelt. That's what I need. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. But I think that, you know, when it's called a bummer, first of all, I think that's really unfortunate. And as Alex touched on, why aren't we being supportive of these empowering, positive choices that people are making in their lives? And you know what? I wasn't comfortable in my own skin when I first got sober. And there are still days today when I struggle a little bit with it, but it's okay. And it is what it is. And it's part of being a real human being. And I don't need to alter that with alcohol. And I feel like for me, that should be celebrated, that I can just be uncomfortable when I'm uncomfortable, and it's all right.
Something that I wanted to mention, just to piggyback off of like with the NA beverages, like something that I feel like could be so easy to integrate. We have Margaret Josephs with her non-alcoholic brand Soiree. Like, why are we not like pushing that and like showing the housewives drinking and enjoying that beyond just like some sort of a like brief like 2-second thing? Like, why are we not building that up and like showing that aspect of it and having other housewives try it out and like get excited and get curious? I'm sure all of them are like into wellness.
Well, and I think we saw Kyle having some alcohol-free wines in this latest season of Beverly Hills, if I remember correctly. Like, she asked for it at least once or twice, I think. Megan, what are your thoughts on this topic? Our wellness guru.
Yeah, I think I really appreciated, Alex, your context on just like remembering how much easier it is to make things super dramatic and interesting pretty quickly with a lot of alcohol being poured in any situation. And at the same time, like in the circles that I operate with the clients that I tend to support, you know, people that are in that sort of bubble of seeking drama and like eating it up, and like they're just not doing really cool shit. You know, like they don't have like a mission, a project. And I don't know. Also, when I first heard about the whole bummer, my mind went to, were they paid by someone in the alcohol industry to say this? Because I particularly last summer when we all listened to that Shabuzi song like 5,000 times, and man, is it catchy, and you're singing it along with your kids, and it like definitely takes me back to some times and I'm like, are we still like, is this still the narrative? And this is still the catchy. And again, thinking like, there seems to be a lot of songs that are very, very popular that are just talking about getting smashed at the bar. Is that just like, am I just hyper critical about it? Or is it just me that it's kind of odd that I feel like there's maybe a last ditch attempt by big alcohol to do some really sneaky marketing. And I don't know, that's kind of where my mind went initially with this. And then just like, yeah, unfortunately, it does make for potentially a less dramatic story, but why not like have that character do something else really cool that no one else is doing, and like create that dichotomy of, oh, this person never wakes up with hangovers, and this person has like all this renewed energy and is sleeping better. And I think there's like a lot of ways to spin it into a different type, an interesting storyline.
Well, and I think, I got sober back in 2006. And what I remember distinctly about that first year, I don't actually remember a lot of the details. Like, I'm sure I cried a lot. I'm sure I had all the feelings that I had. But what I do remember is becoming aware of lyrics and music where it's all about singing about blacking out and those kinds of things. Thank you, Katy Perry. I also remember my house, all my decorations. It was like an ode to alcohol. My kitchen was all decorated in wine decor. My dining room was this whole like Mad Men martini vibe. My son's room, I had happy hour tiki sheets on my son's room, right? And I remember talking to my outpatient therapist counselor and saying, I just became aware how I was trying to glamorize alcohol as if it was this beautiful thing, but it was never beautiful for me, not the aftermath of it. And she was like, why don't you take it all down? And I was like, well, if I do that, like my house will be empty. The walls will be empty. I'll feel so alone and sad and boring, which is the narrative that people assume. And then she was like, or you could look at it as a clean slate to write your new story, to write your new decor. And clearly, if you're watching the show and looking behind me, I fully embrace that. Pop culture loves a comeback story. So I just don't understand why sobriety is still being treated like a ratings risk, because it's not. Like, I want to watch self-help reality TV show at this point. That's what I want. And I know I'm not the only one. I mean, and let's imagine if reality shows, if the cast got sober. Let's imagine, we all know Scandival with Vanderpump Rules, whether you watched it or not, you read the headlines. What would have happened if they had also included episodes on their therapy, on journaling, on emotional accountability, like really dug into the messy middle they were going through of all of that? Like, to me, that's where we're going. That's where this thing is evolving. Anne Marie?
Yeah, I want to see the confessional that has somebody saying like, yeah, she's a stone cold bitch and I hope she chokes on her Chanel necklace. And I recognize that she triggered my inner child. Right. I recognize that she triggered my inner child and I need to sit with that for a minute, or whatever that looks like, right? Like, I mean, there's beauty in our evolution. There's beauty in our sitting with ourselves and allowing ourselves to go inward and do the work of healing and growth and self-development. Instead of, this messaging that needs to be penalized. I'm thinking of like, Sheena Shea, she's been on again, off again, exploring sobriety and Vanderpump Rules. And there have been seasons where she's been, demoted to friend as a result of that, because her storyline is just not catchy enough, not, aggressive, dark enough, whatever. Yeah, I want to root for the person who is really taking the time to work on themselves.
Yeah, I love all of these reality shows that are more like competitions, especially when they bring all of the former Circle cast member, and also I can watch them with my kids, so that's always nice. But is it Battle Camp that's currently on, where I know it's more about not only physical, strength, it's wit, it's strategy. And I just think there's so many more complex aspects that have nothing to do with the drama of, essentially, party culture or whatever. And I find that so much more interesting in like the comeback story, in the sense where sometimes it's the super small girl or guy that's like winning the race or winning the challenge. And there's just so many factors to these types of exercises that they put them through. And to me, that's like much more motivating and animating to watch. Granted, that show it's not totally alcohol free. There are some moments but there's no sense that anyone's being affected by the one drink or whatever they're having.
Well, I think overall we're in the middle of this huge media shift regarding, and I could say this as someone who got their start in newspapers, then I went on and I was in magazines for almost a decade, then I was in TV land, and it's like I know all the marketing shifts and all the traditional media shifts that are happening, and it's a free fall, right? Like everything, there's so much content now. And Gen Z is not watching any of the traditional media that everybody on this call is watching, because they grew up on YouTube. They grew up on TikTok, right? They grew up on Discord. They grew up on Twitch. And so they don't watch the nightly news like their parents do. They don't care. I mean, yes, they're aware of Netflix and Hulu and Disney and all those streaming services. But at the end of the day, there's so many content choices now, like so many content choices, says the girl who grew up in a generation where we had, 11 channels. It's like it's going to be harder and harder to draw the attention of the mega audiences of the past. I think that is going away. In my opinion, we're not going to see breakout Beyoncés anymore. I just don't think we are.
Yeah, that's very true. And yeah, I don't watch any TV, traditional TV, haven't for probably over more than a decade. At the same time, I think we watch way more TV, or we watch.
No, we do. We're consuming more content than we did in the 80s and the 90s, without a doubt. But it's fragmented, right? It's not necessarily like, oh, I got to be home by 8:00 for the 8 o'clock lineup, right, on Thursday nights. It's not that anymore. But it is like, when a show is dropping and it lets you binge the whole thing, versus when they're dropping the first 2 episodes and then they drag you along week by week.
Let's talk about that. Does anyone appreciate now that someone's like modifying their binge? Or do you just get annoyed that it's stripped?
I get really, really annoyed because I do not like cliffhangers. And when it comes to like certain reality TV shows like Married at First Sight or Love is Blind, I don't want to see the whole like beginning part. Just show me when it's really messy. And then like I will just be delighted in eating my popcorn and clutching my pearls and be like, oh my God. But like for me, with like the Housewife series, like something that I think they could benefit from is like maybe they should hire some of the producers from the early seasons like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, because like Kim losing her earring in the ocean and Kourtney's like just gutting line of like, Kim, people are dying. Like, I don't want more of like those moments of like, just like, we know that these people are just like out of touch with reality. Like, why aren't the producers trying to like put them into situations where we can like see more of that? Where like we see them going to a regular grocery store because their caterer canceled and they have like a birthday party for their child and they have to go and like, heaven forbid, pick up their like super bougie like baked goods and they drop the birthday cake. Like, they would have me. I would be like, oh wow. And then just have like the realist, like just channel early Kourtney brutalness.
Anne Marie.
I just love that so much because I remember that episode so vividly, Alex. I remember it so vividly with the earring in the ocean. Yeah, I appreciate the modified binge. It's interesting. Amy, I don't know if y'all are listening to Amy Poehler's new podcast, Good Hang. And she was just talking to Jack Black about this, about it, to binge watch or not to binge watch. I have to say, I've done my fair share of binge watching. And so right now I'm currently in a space of liking a couple of episodes dropping and then saving a couple for the weekend. Sundays or Sunday mornings are my time to catch up on TV. And I'm just enjoying that ritual. The franchise, back to the Housewives, like the franchise that I'm like, I will watch these women without any alcohol whatsoever is Salt Lake City. Like it reminds me of, the old Saturday Night Live sketch with Stefan, and he'd get on Weekend Update and talk about the clubs, right? That's what I think of with Salt Lake City. I'm like, this franchise has everything. Mormons, ski slopes, felons, mid-jewelry lines, right? Like there's just so much. And I think they do a good job of that, of putting them in enough real life situations. We're going skiing for a day, right? They put them in enough real life situations where the drama unfolds naturally. Certainly they've had their fair share of drunken moments. Heather Gay's black eye, that whole thing. We talked about that on our last podcast about this. But I would love to see, I would take a whole hour of Lisa Barlow's one-liners sober. I think that show really, really has the potential to really work with a sober cast.
That would be interesting, an all sober cast. That would be interesting. Nicole, I think that New York came close. In the new New York, there are a handful of them that don't drink for whatever reason. I don't know that they're in recovery, but they don't drink for any reason. Like 2 or 3, like 3 maybe of them didn't drink. So, which I think is really interesting. Well, I mean, here's the thing is like, we still want the outrageous, right? We want to see the people that are spending $100,000 on a birthday party, because we would never do that. I'm in it for the handbags, all those things. I just want to see, it evolve a little bit, because a couple of things that I have noticed personally as a watcher, and I have been watching Real Housewives since season 1, episode 1. Like I've seen every episode of Orange County. I've seen every episode of the Kardashians. There's just certain things I've seen every episode of. I don't go back and rewatch them. But I've seen them all. And at a certain point, it no longer feels good to me. Sometimes I can't watch all the over the top stuff because it's kind of like when you scroll social media and everybody else seems to be having an amazing life and you don't think you're having an amazing life. Well, the answer to that is get off social media, right? And change your perspective. So sometimes I do have to take a break from these things because I start to have envy or jealousy over all these things that they have that I don't. And that is one thing, but the cattiness and the mean girl stuff, I'm just completely over that. I'm done with that. I think as women, we're not doing ourselves any favor when we tear each other down. Let's circle up our powers for good and go after people that actually really deserve it, that are not female. Amy?
I totally agree. I think, the big thing that I feel like is a resounding theme that Bravo isn't doing the best job of sort of supporting and showcasing is supporting each other as women. And I feel like, especially in this day and age, we've come a long way. And I don't think we need to perpetuate some of these old stereotypes that are like, oh, here we go again. We're going to get in a fight over who told who what about whose thing and whose affair happened when, and ripping clothes and cat fights. And I don't know. And maybe I'm getting older and different things are of value to me now, but I'll tell you, I don't know, if you look at my TV shows that come up for me, or even like my Apple Music, I mean, you would think something is seriously wrong with me. I am devoted to none. It depends on my mood, on my day, what I want to watch. But by and large, I think I'm over the whole mean girl thing, because I don't want to see that, because that's not what I want in my life. And then also looping back to the whole thing about evolving, reminds me of that Tower Records documentary where the owner of Tower Records, Russ Solomon, right? He was like, oh, no one's going to get rid of their CD library ever. and then they went out of business. So again, it's like whether or not, whatever our feelings are about the world changing and society and culture, and I don't know, I was going to say to be stuck in a time period of just kind of replaying and rehashing these old ways of dealing with each other as women. I'm not for, but I am for being wedded to the past in terms of 80s and 90s pop culture. So I guess I'm kind of like, the juxtaposition there is questionable.
Well, and maybe this is because you guys have to tell me if this is on base or not, but for me, I don't keep those friendships in my life that are toxic anymore. I'm doing way too much work on myself. I don't have any room for them. And I think that's what you see with people that are really doing a lot of work on self, sober or not, right? Although I would argue it's easier to do work on yourself with a clear, substance-free mind. But I just don't have the patience for it. And I don't need to have a million friends anymore, but the ones I have need to be ride or dies. I can trust them. Doesn't mean they're perfect. Doesn't mean we don't throw digs at each other. Doesn't mean we don't have drama. But I'm not in any circles of women anymore where there's catfights and negativity and backstabbing. Those are all gone. I just don't have them.
Yeah, I feel the same. I don't have the bandwidth for it. I just don't have the capacity in my life at my age. And certainly within my recovery, my capacity for that has really, really changed. And I think, Amy, you bring up a really great point just about the natural evolution that comes with being a woman at a certain point in our life, right? Going into our 40s or, late 30s, 40s, 50s, what that looks like. And I'm just thinking, just because Beverly Hills just wrapped up, that cast of women, I mean, we've watched them age for the past, 13, 14 years. A lot of them are approaching their 50s or in their 50s already. And right. And and we're not giving room to explore the idea of letting go of alcohol simply because it does not mesh with aging, right? Simply because our bodies are changing and we don't tolerate alcohol the same way anymore. It doesn't have to be, I'm blackout drunk, I'm hitting a rock bottom. Changing a relationship with alcohol can just be because it doesn't fucking serve you anymore. And there's no room to explore that within the reality of these folks getting older.
Well, and their faces have evolved, right? They all have different faces. So I no shade. Get whatever work done you want to get done to make yourself feel good about yourself. I'm all for it. But if you could evolve that, their outfits have evolved, their handbags collections have evolved. So arguably, I would hope their insides are evolving too. Yeah. Okay, I know we have to wind down because Alex has to leave, and before she garcels out, I do have to know if anyone in real time can come up with a sobriety-themed Real Housewife opening line. I'll go first just to give you a minute to see if you can come up with one. I may not drink, but honey, I still serve.
That's a good one.
That's mine. Yeah, that's mine.
I've got one.
Okay.
I forgave my dad and still look good in Chanel.
Good. I know I put you guys on the spot. It's okay if you don't have one.
Alcohol isn't all that I'm free of.
Ooh, good one, Alex.
How about I may be on husband number 4, but I don't need booze anymore.
Ooh, snap, 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 snap.
Well, this isn't my tagline, but I think it would work perfectly is I'm all about having it all without alcohol.
That's good. That's good. Well, panel, thank you so much for keeping it honest, keeping it hilarious, and keeping it soberly fabulous. We will be making these emergency broadcast recordings every time something happens in the headlines, because I'm going to want to talk about it. And before we sign off, let me see what ridiculous tchotchke I can just whip out of my area here. I really should start to prepare these things in advance. Well, I'm going to go with something sparkly because, housewives are sparkly. This is my disco mushroom, but it is not just a disco mushroom. It's a candle.
Nice.
Yep. So there you have it. Another
What flavor?
Another home goods victory. I'm not sure. It smells kind of gardenia to me, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, who doesn't need a disco ball?
It has nothing to do with alcohol.
Mushroom. It has nothing to do with alcohol, and it's cute. See, it can happen.
Putting it at the foot of my disco blessed mother back there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
Get a whole garden going.
Well, and hopefully by now, speaking of bedazzles, you have all read my article of me bedazzling my big book. We'll include that link in the show notes because that was 6 hours. That was well worth it of my time. Well worth it.
100%.
Well, that's all the time we have. And as we like to say at the Sober Curator, getting sober matters. Staying sober matters more. Thanks for tuning in. This is Alysse Bryson. And until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and keep it sober. Thanks for tuning in because let's be real, we're way more fun than your ex's drunk texts.
If you laughed, learned, or just need more of our voices in your life, honestly, I mean, who wouldn't? Hit that subscribe button, leave us a review, and send this episode to your sober or your I swear I'm only drinking on the weekends besties.
And if you have a story, feedback, or hey, maybe you just want to slide into our DMs like it's 2012, well, you know we're here for it. Find more curated magic at thesobercurator.com. And remember, getting sober matters, staying sober matters more. Until next time, keep it real, keep it fun, and keep it sober.